don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. Last video in my book reading series of reading my own books. Yeah, I just finished chapter 4, and apparently I tend to always, until I get into the swing of the book, and since I hadn't read it in a while, I had found an issue I had with an issue that I would have wished I would have changed early. Yeah, it's funny how once you get into the swing of it and you start enjoying it, you tend to not notice them as often, because I know there are things that I wish I could have changed, like the description of certain things, but the first thing that popped up, because I hadn't read the book in a while, let me get to my point. Since I haven't read the book in a while, was at the very beginning. Yeah, Ash burst out the front door and stormed out onto the porch. I don't like how I had out twice. Ash burst out the front door and stormed onto the porch. I think would have been better, because I don't need stormed out onto the porch. Stormed out, there's no point. Stormed onto the porch, because he burst out the front door. It pretty makes sense. You just need to remove one of those words. And then here again, stormed out onto the porch. Elise and Cassie were sitting on the front. I could have put it where Elise and Cassie were sitting. They turned to see Ash marching right past them. That would have been better than saying Elise and Cassie were sitting on the front porch. Porch is repetitive, out is repetitive. It's just not something I'm proud of. But after that, I kind of just got into the swing of it and didn't really notice much. I know there were a few things that felt off. I wish I could have described the... yeah, because what's funny is this chapter actually was several pages longer, because I actually did enjoy the fact that I was getting more into the origin of this character. Because one thing I'm doing is the trilogy. There is one main character throughout the trilogy. Like if you follow Liera's story, she's the main character because her arc is the entire trilogy. You only get through like a portion of her arc in the first book, and then a portion of her middle arc in the second book, and the third book will have like the conclusion of her arc. But Ash is the main character of each individual book, so he has an arc throughout each book. But Liera is the main character of the entire series, or at least the trilogy. So that's one thing I was doing. So I'm flushing out Ash a little more than I am Liera, just because you get more in Liera's story in the next 2 books. So that's just how I write. Well, that's just how I did this book. It just seemed to flow a little better, and I'm enjoying it, really. I really like it. I'm having fun writing it. Each character is unique in their own way. At least I think they are. I wish I could have done more, because I actually had fun with Ash. I wish I could have done like previous, because I had a scene where Ash went into the village and was being picked on by the 3 boys, and then basically it goes into the next day where he needs to do a sell because nobody likes Ash. He states a price. They don't want to haggle, because people tend to haggle to get a better price. They just say whatever to just get rid of Ash. They feel like he's a curse. He brings bad luck to everyone around him. It's just one of those things. He's a magic wielder, and magic is bad. I wish I could have flushed that out more. I did originally, and then I removed it because I felt like it was just too much. But I actually enjoy reading more of the slice of life type of genres. I enjoy that kind of stuff, which is why I wrote so much of it. But I felt to get to the heart of the book, I just had to remove it. So it's one of those things I kind of regret I did. But here I can talk about what I planned to do and what I did originally. One thing I wish I could have done better was the immersion into the magical world. I do get more into it later on, but like everything else, I did have a lot more planned out. But the problem is, I spent years of mapping out how the magic works, years mapping out the origin, who is capable of it, why are they capable of it, what makes certain people more powerful than others, little things, just little things. The problem is, like I've said before, when you know so much about something, you don't know when you're giving too much information, and when you want things to just be kind of like a surprise or people to figure it out from book to book. because I don't want to just tell everyone one thing, and then when I start touching base on it in other series, little piece by little piece, people are going to be like, oh, I've already gone through this. I don't care. I can just skip these pages. No, so I felt like, you know what? I'll just give a bit here, and in another series, I'll give a bit more. In another series, I'll give a bit more. And if someone reads those series, they can enjoy it and still follow along. But someone who's read the entire series, every piece of work I have done, will finally be able to understand. It's just like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is why this is happening. This is why this is happening. That's just crazy. I do get into a lot of it later on in this series, this trilogy alone, because let's face it, it's my first one. I have to explain a lot more. Just give people a base and give myself a base to work off of, even though I have an entire concrete science as to how magic works. Because I like that style. I like Brandon Sanderson's style of it needs to make sense. It has to make sense. I don't like where things just happen. Of course, there are incidences where I will include that, but I will try to anchor it in some reality, in some way. But yeah, that's chapter 4. Like I said, I'll complain about one thing and then I'll go off topic on things I plan to do. Yeah, there's so many stories I want to write. I wish I could make this my living, because I would be pumping book after book after book, several books a year, if I could just make this a living. But I can't. I need to have an income some other way. So it is discouraging to not see my work be valued. So hopefully at this point in time, when you're watching this video, I have a ton of books already out, and yeah, I'm being valued, and I'll be writing. The problem is, it's just like I wrote the first one, and I started writing the second one immediately, but didn't have enough revenue from the first one, have to get a job, have to do all this stuff, that it slows the creative process, and it's just like, if I was getting paid to write, I would be writing constantly, because I would be getting an income from it. Now it's kind of like a hobby, because I'm not getting rewarded for it, that it's just, I'm pushing it aside, because there are other priorities. I need an income, I need something to live off of. Yeah, that's just, I'm just complaining at this point. But yeah, that's my plans. I do know what I've planned to do. It is more of a concrete structure. Yes, the first book is very short, which I'm actually happy about, because with me reading it, it'll probably just take me a few weeks to finish, maybe a few months. But my next book is, I think, going to be book 2 in the series, about yay big. Book 3 might be more so, because there's more going on. Every time I try to flesh out more and more. I mean, you don't get introduced to dwarves until book 2, I think. Book 3. Because you know they exist. I've introduced them. It's funny, because there's also things that I haven't introduced that I've already created a huge... Let's just say, I mentioned this before. I love taking from the world, our history. There are things that are just fantastic about and mysterious about our world, that I was like, you know what, I'll just steal concepts and ideas and just rewrite them, because that's all it is. I mean, there is no original thought. Everything is just redone another way. Even if someone creates an idea like I did here, I'm pretty sure people, like, there are thousands of other people who are going to go like, I've read this here, I've read this here, I've read this here, or I've seen similarities here, here, and here. Because I don't believe anyone's, unless they've read this, has read this. I try to think I'm unique, but who knows. Yeah, thank you all for watching me just ramble and babble on and talk about my plans. Yeah, I'm trying not to give too much away when I do this, because I get excited and I want to just ramble on about what I'm doing, what I'm working on, who's who, why this is this. Yeah, I really want to get into it, but yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it alone, not get into the future of each race and the future of mysterious things that are going to happen later on. Yet, which is funny, later on is like thousands and thousands and thousands of cycles. If you haven't caught on, cycles is basically a year. It's basically a cycle of the world when it goes around through seasons, an entire cycle of the seasons. So yeah, that's cycles. Oh yeah, I'm eager to just ramble on, but I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all for watching. Ramble to you next time. Toodles.